Now, around 2/3 of over 65s are missing out on the advantages of going online. Research shows it's because they think it's too complicated, too expensive, or irrelevant. So 2 guests on this, certainly an elderly surfer, Gillian, and our tech expert, Julia Hardy.
Can you reach him from there?
Yeah, go on, exactly.
I know where he lives.
So, only kidding, really. But look, Julia, silver surfers,
yes,
I mean, they are there. Why are some people in that bracket really good at getting online, and other people, and I can think of a few that I know, just seem to struggle getting their head around tech?
Obviously, you know, we've grown up with technology. It just seems part and parcel of everything that we do. And I think it just comes down to if you have like a kind of passion for life. So my dad, he's 73. He's actually an electronics engineer, but is surprisingly not terribly good with tech,
right?
Oddly.
Right.
But he really does try. He does try to kind of have a go and get. And I think if you just are one of those people that wants to try new things, I also think as well, it's kind of got to the point where it's so saturated in terms of, you know, if you come outside your house, you go and wait at a bus stop. I know you don't, obviously, Stephen. If you go and wait at a bus stop, every single person is on their phone. You know, you go on a train, everyone's on their phone. You can't avoid it.
Also, I did have to catch a bus. I think it was yesterday.
Was it shocking?
Yes, believe it or not. And now, to find out when the bus is coming, you can send a text and see. So you really do need to be up with it.
I've never been like going to school and having to wait forever for buses. Like kids today don't really have to wait for anything. It's all immediate.
But there's an issue, isn't there? That say we're growing up with this sort of thing, and it seems intuitive to us, but we're getting used to how it's all evolving, so we can, you know, do whatever we like on these. For someone who's missed that, and I'm thinking relatives of mine who sort of, they've got that gap in their knowledge, so this actually isn't intuitive to them, how do they start to get their head around it?
For every single person, the first time you use an interface on a bit of tech, it's frustrating because you know what you want to do, but you don't know how to do it. You have to just play. You just have to play with tech and get used to it. And then once you start doing it, it seems very, very intuitive. Oh, I swipe this way, I pinch like this. And the more you use tech, the more your, you know, your knowledge of how everything works, and the more you can pick up a different piece of technology. But you have to kind of get over that first hurdle, and you should encourage people to do that, to have a go.
But what about, so it's one thing getting your head around the tech and starting with that. What about using the tech to help you? And things like, you know, memory training and those sort of things.
So I was thinking about this all week about sort of some of the stuff that would be particular for kind of silver surfers. I think one of the biggest things for my parents is that they always, hello. Hi.
Nick's joining us.
Hello, how are we? How are you?
I'm never better.
Good. One of the things my parents have real difficulties doing is remembering passwords.
Right.
I get phone calls from my dad. What's my password? What's my password? I don't know what your password is. They have apps now. There are so many of them. I don't want to go through all of them, but where you can basically put in all your different passwords, also all your logins for different websites, things like that. Some of them will actually create unique, really odd, you know, QXPWYZ passwords for you, and it stores them all in there, and you basically can then just access them with one thing, and then you can get into it, which is good because every single website now you have to have a login for this and a password for that,
and also you have to update them like every 6 weeks.
It's so boring. Yeah, it gets a little bit annoying, but that's one of the really good ones. Obviously, there are numerous and infinite studies about how using kind of cognitive memory games helps older people sort of keep their brain function going, and there's so many of these apps out here, and they're very, very cheap.
And what about, because there's always an issue with old people who find themselves on their own, a bit isolated. What about the idea of using things like FaceTime or Skype and social networking to actually stay in touch?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, a lot of parents, you know, maybe their children have moved overseas, abroad, and it is that feeling of, you know, loneliness where they, you know, you do have this technology but you do feel a bit isolated, but there's nothing like having a face-to-face conversation, and Skype actually is the best thing you're going to, or other apps as well obviously, is looking at someone's face and seeing it is, you know, even on the phone it's a good connection, but seeing someone's face, it makes you feel, you know, it's your family, it sort of makes you feel okay and happy, you don't feel so lonely.
So if you're a bit challenged by the tech and you're in that whatever age bracket you're in actually, you're there, give it a go, seems to be the answer with all of this. Just try.
Just try.
There you go, love it. And I'm for that. And Julia's quite right. Just play till you understand it. It does all fall. It's a bit like learning to drive.
You can't basically ruin anything. Don't be afraid to touch buttons and just figure out what things do.
Have a go. Great advice. Julia, thank you. See you next Friday.
Yeah, we'll do.
Nick, you've got some sports headlines?